The year 2018 marks the centenary of the birth of Nelson Mandela. There are a number of exciting projects that are currently underway or are to be implemented at various points during the year. This provides a unique opportunity for people around the world to reflect on his life and times and to promote his legacy in their own unique way. Hello, my name is Pule Mulebatsi. You are watching Bophelong. Today we celebrate Madiba's legacy by shining the spotlight on one of the photographers who was able to capture the magical moments of the icon that will stand the test of time. Here is what took place when we turned our camera lens to renowned photographer Terrace.
It is often said that a picture tells 1,000 words. Well, in this case, Terrace's pictures told historical stories that have helped shape the outlook of the future. Terrace is the man behind iconic pictures of prominent people, iconic events, and monuments around Africa. His work is well recognized, but the man is yet to be discovered.
I was born in Guatemala, and at the age of 18 more or less, I went to study in the United States, in New York to finish my high school. Then I went to do many things, and at one point I was studying international business in Texas, and I saw this beautiful picture of the Depression in the United States, and I liked the picture, so I decided to buy some cameras in San Antonio, Texas, and I did a professional basketball photography.
He worked for NASA and made more money, but his edge for compelling pictures pushed him to resign.
Then I went to work for NASA in Washington, and 3 years after working for NASA, I got so tired and depressed of doing the same thing, even though it was a very scientific job and very well paid and all this thing, but I was not happy. So it was elections in South Africa and Mozambique, which I didn't know nothing about it, and I didn't know one soul except a friend of mine in Mozambique who was working for Medical Without Borders. And so I came to it, and it was election times in Mozambique and South Africa, and I became part of the furniture since then.
Soon after boldly moving to South Africa, he met the legendary Nelson Mandela.
Well, when I came in 1994, I was sitting at the Carlton Center, and that's where everything happened. So I met so many people, and now from then we're still friends, and some are like Kalima Montlace, and many other people that I met then, which, like I said, I didn't know nobody. When I arrived in one of the rallies in Soweto, what happened that it getting dark my second day in Johannesburg, and I get stuck in Soweto, and I don't know anybody. So it's getting dark. Remember, I don't know nobody here. So, and I grew up in the US. So I was a little bit scared, and then there were 2 gentlemen around. So it's fine, we'll take you there, and wala. Only later, I found out that was Jonas Kwangwa and George Lee. The saxophonist that was there, the one who gave me a lift back to my hotel.
In a foreign country and taking each day as it came, Oscar's love for pictures landed him at the right place.
At one point, I was going back to the United States, and I got a phone call from National Union of Mine Workers that since I speak Spanish, that I was interested to do some translations for the Cuban minister. So I decided to say yes. And during spend time with the National Union of Mine Workers, I decided to teach mine workers photography. So I raised some funds from the Canadian miners in Canada. So I was teaching mine workers, 35 mine workers photography for almost 6 months. So and after that, I met so many people, and then included Nelson Mandela, because he used to come to National Union of Mine Workers.
His charitable services with the miners landed him in unexpected fate.
I was teaching mine workers photography, and then I met a lot of people, and I would go to the mines and take pictures, and happened to be Madiba was there. So since the people that knew that I was a photographer for NUM, I got access to. But it was nothing that it was planning. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and that's why I took many pictures of Madiba and the mine industry.
His work has celebrated worldly renowned jazz artists, politicians, and today we celebrate him in his journey of following the long walk with Nelson Mandela. His eye behind the camera allowed South Africans to be vigilant of everything happening around them.
Let's take a short break. When we return, Oscar takes us through a series of iconic photographs of Madiba at his gallery in Melville, Johannesburg. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Photographer and photojournalist Oscar Terrace is sharing his moments with Nelson Mandela and how capturing the best moments of the icon shaped his view of South Africa and its people. Let's have a look.
Oscar Terrace is a man whose eye captured the freedom of South Africa. Moving from Guatemala to South Africa, his journey has been a blissful one. Allowing pictures to share his life story, he admits that he finds joy behind a camera lens. When talking about following in Mandela's footsteps, he beams.
I just follow. And there was, for example, one of my most iconic moments, because I call it iconic moments, and there's at the night Congress of the Communist Party in Soweto. I think it was Nazareth, and this is 1997 when he was at the Communist Party Congress, and when he tells them, this is what I was given to read. So his speech lasts maybe like an hour, and they said, this is what I was given to read. And then he said, but let me tell you what I think about gear. Gear is here to stay. So what happened is that the whole place got so quiet and so upset. They thought that they missed reading something. They were not too sure what Madiba has been saying, but he was telling them gear is here to stay. So what he meant is that we're not going socialist or communist. And so that moment, I'm telling you, it was crisis. So one of the images you will see in the exhibition, he was upset because he just told it what he wants. He told them what they wanted, what they didn't want to hear at their own Congress.
This year, he has been going around the country sharing on how he celebrates the centenary.
There's another one of him in Mozambique with Renamo and Frelimo. And that also is an iconic moment because it's Frelimo and Renamo. And there's Madiba in the center. And there's the only picture of them together is that picture. And it was a special, for me, it was a special moment because all those pictures were taken with a wide angle lens, so I'm so close to them. Like I can touch them. I just had to go like this and I will be able to touch it. I had to back up because I'm too close to them. I'm in the back of the bodyguards. So normally you are on the other side of the bodyguards. Me, I'm in the backs of the bodyguards. So it was a special moment, and hopefully when people see the images, they can see that they were not taken with telelens. I was so close to them.
Besides capturing iconic and special moments, Oscar says Nelson Mandela gave him more than just perfect pictures.
One of the observations, at one point he was with Walter Sisulu, and I'm telling you, he will listen to Walter Sisulu. I don't speak any of the local languages, but yes, his silence will tell you he was listening. So, and I think that's one of the things that I keep in my mind, that so most time it's better to listen. And I think that's one of the things that I got from Nelson Mandela, just listen. And he, he was the president after he went to, he's an icon around the world. And the gentleman liked to listen and spend time with everybody, with the mine workers, with musicians, you name it. He will find time to be with them.
Oscar continued to tell Bophelong how humane Mandela was with journalists even when they were not taking pictures of him. He remembers the first words he said to him.
How are you? Nice to see you, Oscar. It's nice to see you, Mr. Mandela. How are you? Fine, thank you. And we had the conversation. At one point, we went to his house with John Masakisa. And we spent 45 minutes with him. I'm telling you, after 5 minutes, personally, I don't know what to say because, I mean, what can you say to Mandela in 45 minutes? So I said, John, please engage. And John was like so happy to see Mandela. So, and also you have to know when you meet people like Nelson Mandela, and you don't say much and don't be annoyed to anybody. If you have nothing to say, might as well say nothing. Just engage. And me, I did one picture. And I got, of course, I got more than one picture, but the experience to spend 45 minutes with Nelson Mandela is undescribable.
Since he is not a commercial photographer, Oscar says being allowed to take pictures of Nelson Mandela and his movement was good enough. He didn't even think about getting paid.
I'm not a commercial photographer, even though I was trained to be a commercial photographer. But I don't think about money. So me, I just go and take pictures. People ask, "Are you crazy?" And no, I'm not into the issue of money. And that's why you can see that they say that I have probably the most larger archive of jazz musicians in South Africa, because I go to all the jazz venues and take pictures, and I do it on my own. So nobody pay us, and it's not only me. There's Simpigwe as well. There's Lucky. There's many photographers like myself that we go and take pictures, and you never know. Eventually, most photographers, like Peter Marugwana was telling me the other day, one day you will make money, or when you die, somebody will make money out of your pictures, and I think that's the case of myself. I don't think about money.
Joy was the pride Oscar won for walking and exposing a wide view of the state of politics and social issues of South Africans.
It's an honor. I can tell you one thing. It's for a photographer to take pictures of Mandela, that's the highest level you can go, for many of us. And the pleasure, the experience every time was a different one. And you had to be, humble, be in the right angle and all the thing, because also the security guards, you had to be nice to them, not to say much. And also because most of the times I go out with a t-shirt and one camera, so I'm not threat to anybody. So they can see that, no, this guy is fine. No bags, no jackets, the t-shirt, and so on. I have nothing to hide. So that's what I was given access to Nelson Mandela and many other people that I took pictures of.
Proud and joyous is how he describes his clicked moments.
As Oscar reflects on his iconic moments with Utata Nelson Mandela, why don't you join in and share how you are unleashing the Madiba in you? Our contact details are at the bottom of your screen. Let's take a short break. Bophelong returns after this.
Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaky. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalant that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything. What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
News at 9. We go beyond the headlines of the day and breaking news to bring you all the angles and in-depth analysis of stories that impact your life. We are on the ball with all economic stories. Our bureaus around the globe are ready to connect you to events as and when they happen. So join us every day at 9 to zoom in on the day's big stories.
Need to know more about the markets? This is where it all starts, at the SABC's headquarters in Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. Our team work tirelessly to make sure you are on top of the markets. We analyze, report, crunch the numbers, call in the experts, package the news, and bring you critical global market updates from the JSE.
We'll unpack exactly what's shaping markets.
They are in tune, and they are your team making sense of the markets every day on SABC News.
Welcome back to Bophelong. We spent the last few minutes of our show looking at how the Madiba magic rubbed off on one of his photographers. Oscar Terrace shares how his experience as Nelson Mandela's photographer influenced his point of view of South Africa when he is behind the lens.
To celebrate the centenary of the birth of former President Nelson Mandela in July 1918, renowned photographer Oscar Terrace will launch his exhibition of the very best of his captured photographs. The glimpses of iconic moments are exhibited in his gallery in Melville, although he has more plans on how he will continue the Mandela legacy.
This is the first step, and this is to celebrate Madiba's legacy in my own way, and I think it's very important to keep his legacy alive for future generations. As you know, now with technology, people move on, and whatever is relative today, tomorrow, or today is not longer relative. So I think it's very important to keep Madiba's legacy for the future generations to come, because after being 27 years in a cell in Robben Island and coming in to put South Africa where it is and not having any remorse, or maybe he had remorse about what he went through, but he never expressed it. He went and lived a normal life without being angry or So I think it's very important to keep his legacy alive.
Wondering on what keeps Oscar clicking the camera lens? Well, South Africa has become more alive and have recognized their treasure, which is freedom, leading Oscar to have plenty more to shoot.
I do many things. I freelance, so when you see all the photos of the How train, when you fly to the Oliver Tambo, all the photos at the airport are my photos. You can go to almost any jazz venue in South Africa, you will see my photos. Even when you pay your taxes, all the pictures of SARS, they are my pictures. And also because I freelance, a lot of pictures for the Johannesburg Development Agency, they are my pictures. My photos, you can see it everywhere. I was just telling somebody that during the FIFA, all the buses that were going in Johannesburg with pictures of the FIFA advertising the games, that was my pictures as well. When you go to Constitutional Hill, all the photos are my pictures. And then now people know that they need pictures for their books, so they call me and say, listen, I'm looking for a picture for my book or for my documentary. The other day I got a phone call from somebody from Italy. They're doing a documentary about Yobo. And apparently Yobo, because people used to socialize in Rocket Street so much, they never took pictures. Me, I had to socialize there, and I took pictures. So I had pictures of 94, 95, 96, 97 of Rocket Street. So the Italians are making a documentary because there are no pictures by the local South Africans. Apparently I'm the only one who took pictures. So people are discovering that I have a lot of pictures they need for the books or magazines, and so I had to, when they say I need a picture of a particular area, and I also do a lot of aerial photos of Johannesburg. So I'm busy with, probably my next exhibition will be aerial photos of Johannesburg, from Soweto to Mandela Bridge, and all those things. So that will be probably my next exhibition.
His passion turned to a hobby, and now there's no day that he doesn't find himself clicking on those camera lenses.
I socialize a lot. I used to be very naughty, not anymore. I socialize a lot, and that's why probably I have a lot of access to a lot of people, because they say, hey, what are you doing? When are you coming? Like, a lot of events. And as you know, there's so much jazz in South Africa. So I go to at least 3 times a week to a jazz venue, and then to other social events, people's barbecues or brides. book launches, open galleries. So that's another thing I do. I go at least once a week to a gallery and see what people are doing in terms of. And I get inspiration by going to galleries, because what people have produced in their lifetime and all those beautiful things. So I get inspired. And we did the other day, we went to Venda, and we drove into Venda for 5 days to look where the artists are in Venda. So it was an experience. And after that, my partner and I, Michelle, we decided to go to 65 days into Africa. So we drove all the way to Ethiopia, and then came back to the Indian Ocean all the way down to Johannesburg. It was an experience to see.
This has surely brought him luck and blessings of finding himself using state resources without even being charged for it.
The United Nations gave me this ID as a photographer, but underneath of the ID was saying the holder of this ID is not a UN employee. But the Russians that were driving the helicopters and the planes, they never read the underneath of the ID. And later with the Japanese, they never read the underneath. So me, I used to take planes, helicopter going everywhere in Africa. So in my craziness, I would go and take pictures of all of them, because when I came from the US, I spent some time at NASA. I was working for NASA, and a lot of my friends worked for National Geographic, so they gave me a lot of film. I came with a lot of film and 2 nice cameras. So I managed to travel and document. So at one point, one of those images hopefully will tell them how it was when we were alive in this area.
When asked on how he would like to be remembered, this was his response.
I would like to leave at least one picture that will tell of my lifetime, how it was when I was here. It not necessarily has to be Mandela, but there's a lot of images that I have taken, especially the days of refugees from Mozambique coming back to Mozambique. I have so many images of those days in '94 when the refugees from Mozambique were coming back to Mozambique. And I think it was from 7 countries. So I was everywhere.
Oscar Terrace's career has been a unique and an important one. Since his arrival in 1994, Terrace has covered and captured events and issues in politics, arts, culture, religion, and social moments, developing an immense archive of significant moments in South Africa's contemporary history.
And that's how we end our show today. We'd like to thank renowned photographer Oscar Terrace for sharing his story with us. And of course, join us again, same time, same place. Goodbye for now.